Good morning and welcome. My name is Zahid Torres-Rahman. I'm the founder and CEO of Business Fights Poverty, and I'm delighted to be one of your co-hosts for today. I'm driven by an idea. It's a very simple idea, but it's a very powerful idea, and that is the idea of purposeful collaboration. Now, I've been working in the space of collaboration for about 20 or so years, but it was only in the last few years that I recognized that the power of collaboration comes from being purposeful about how we do it. And let me explain a bit about what I mean by purposeful collaboration. It means being clear about why we're collaborating, what is the burning issue that we're trying to solve together, and importantly, do we have a shared understanding of that shared issue? Who are we collaborating with? Are we going to be bold enough to reach across traditional divides to find the best people to collaborate with? And can we respect and understand the different things that we all bring, the perspectives, the knowledge, the networks, to that issue? The third thing is being clear about what it is specifically we're going to do together that is going to move the needle on that issue, and being concrete about that. The fourth thing is being very clear about the when, being urgent about by when are we going to do that specific thing to move the needle. And the fifth thing is being clear about the how, being genuine and authentic, and really thinking about how we can co-create a solution to that issue. Now, all that sounds very simple, but in my experience, at least one or two of those things is always missing in a collaboration. And for that reason, often collaborations are slow, they are complex, they are costly, and they just do not deliver on their potential. Whereas in contrast, if you can be purposeful in your collaboration, then actually I believe you can unlock new insight and, importantly, deepen relationships. And that relationships piece is absolutely critical for me because that is really how we drive all change. And so I guess my core view is that if we want to move the needle on these things, we have to start collaborating with real humanity. We have to bring humanity back into the way we collaborate. And by that I mean, let's stop collaborating as organizations, as job titles, as egos, but as people. Let's start collaborating as people who share a passion. So that's our broad framing as an organization. We're a business-led collaboration network focused on social impact. And it's something that we've been grappling with over recent years. We haven't got it completely right, and we continue to learn. But we always are delighted to find partners who share our passion for purposeful collaboration. And in Acumen, we found an organization, a partner with a kindred spirit. You have always been bold and adventurous in how you shape new partnerships across pioneering corporations, across innovative social entrepreneurs, across trailblazing NGOs, bold intermediaries, passionate experts. And for that reason, we're delighted to invite all of you here today. I can tell you that each and every one of you here today is moving things forward on collaboration in your own respective ways. Today we'll hear a number of stories of passion, of progress, of setback, of challenge overcome. And very often, in fact, in all cases, those stories are driven by people who are shaking things up, either social entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who are thinking in new ways, or intrapreneurs who are working within organizations, whether it's corporates or NGOs or government departments, who are thinking differently. There are also people you will hear from today on stage, but also in your conversations, who are thinking in new ways about how to reach out across divides to create new forms of partnership, who are not satisfied with a transactional approach to partnership, but are looking for new transformational approaches instead, both in terms of how they imagine those partnerships, but also how they deliver them. Can I just pause actually for a second and just ask you to shake the hand of the person next to you, in front of you and behind you? Fantastic. Well, that's sort of our job done. So I can guarantee you that at least one of the people you've just shaken the hand of will be the person that you need to meet at this event who can move you on your own journey. So thank you for making the time to be with us today. One final point I'd make is that this is really just a point in a journey. It's a process of collaboration that we're interested in. Both Acumen and Business Fights Poverty are involved in ongoing collaboration throughout the year. Yasmina in a second will talk about Acumen's perspective on this, but for Business Fights Poverty, there are a number of things we'll do today that are part of an ongoing process. So through the workshops, we're going to be having a session on how we can collaborate to help smallholder farmers succeed. We've got a session on how we can drive small business success through a more ecosystem approach to partnering. With our partners, the League of Entrepreneurs, we were looking at how you can unleash entrepreneurship and social innovation in your organization. And also League of Entrepreneurs will be looking at how you create system-level partnerships for change in supply chains towards more responsible supply chains. And then throughout all of those, you'll see a theme come out around building more transformational partnerships, and we'll pick that up in the final plenary. So that is the shape of the day. Once again, I thank you for making the time to be with us today. I think in the world that we find ourselves in, it really is our responsibility to rethink the why and the who and the what of partnership and approach it with a new sense of urgency and a new sense of authenticity. So thank you so much for being here, and once again, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I am Yasmina Zaidman. I'm the Chief Partnerships Officer for Acumen, and I am delighted to see all of you here today. This is actually the fourth ecosystem event that Acumen has organized at the Skoll World Forum. It's always been really exciting to be a part of this week and to bring new perspectives and different voices to the conversation. And I think this might be the 10th event that I've organized at Acumen that really looks at collaboration specifically between corporations and social enterprises. And I think it's honest to say that this is the one I'm most excited about and also maybe the most nervous about. I was trying to figure out why I was so kind of nervous anticipation. And I think it's because this is the first time I really know what it is I want to happen as a result of this event. I have a vision and something that I think is very possible. And it's because of you. It's because of the people that are here. This is an assembled group of people who can actually move the needle. And especially through the partnerships that you are engaged in, so many of you already working together, and the ones that you might engage in the future. So that makes things kind of intense. And then also just knowing so many of you individually and the journeys that you're on. My personal heroes, the people that get me out of bed in the morning. And I wanted to just call out a few of them, not to embarrass them, but one is Marta Del Rio, who's joining us from Peru. She was at the European Food Fair yesterday and won the prize for the best organic food product at the fair, unexpectedly. But she She started what is actually the only company that exports a branded snack product from Peru so that she could support and work with some of the poorest and most marginalized communities in Peru. The other person I want to just highlight is Eric Kaduru from CAD Africa, who's there, who I've been trying to get to come to this event for years. And he started CAD Africa, which is a company that exists to support young women and girls in Uganda to help them grow passion fruit, to have an income and to have a voice as the managers of their own business. And again, it's this sort of purpose-led business. But there's other heroes of mine here today. One is Beatrice from Hershey, who I met recently, who is a huge champion for social enterprise. Clive Allison, who I don't see but will be joining us, who helped to launch Transform at Unilever, which is an incredible platform to help support social enterprise development. And Jesse Coates from Ernst & Young, who hosted our big partner gathering in Europe yesterday. And Ernst & Young is basically using their capabilities to support social enterprises around the world. So this is a room that is full of powerhouse people that are prepared to create change. But creating a day for all of you that can actually help you on that journey, that can help you go from where you are now to somewhere even further, feels like a big responsibility. And I feel good about the fact that we're also giving you chocolate, so whatever happens, like you cannot lose today. But more than that, it just reminds me that all the important things we want to do are going to require some kind of a risk. So 18 years ago, Acumen took a risk. In the face of the world's biggest intractable problems, Acumen decided to take a bet on a unique kind of entrepreneur that we felt could unlock new solutions, that was equally committed to serving the poor through their business and making that business sustainable and scalable. And that was not something that was proven. In fact, a lot of people, I think, kind of laughed us out of the room when we talked about this. But we persevered, and what we've found in the 18 years that have followed is that there's a real movement around this now, something undeniable, and it's led to millions of people getting access to energy in East Africa. It's led to success in last-mile distribution of healthcare in India. It's led to new business models in Latin America that really empower farmers to succeed. So this movement is now unshakable. And yet, what I've seen, and I think what many of us know, is that no individual social enterprise can create the change that is needed on its own. And so what I did about 7 years ago was take another risk and another leap of faith and say, I think that if we're going to create this change, we need to find a new model of partnership between corporations and social enterprises. And I believe this was possible because we've seen these exciting changes in the business community. We've seen a new interest in the SDGs, shared value, but beyond that, defining sustainability in a different way and understanding the role that human communities play in creating sustainable business models. This idea that we don't just need to make our shareholders happy, but we need to understand all the stakeholders that are impacted by business. So through this journey of the last 7 years, what we've found is that corporations and social enterprises need each other in order to be successful. And that's because there's this new definition of what success means. It's a difficult definition, and it's one I think we're still grappling with. But we're seeing at every level within business, from the CEO to the younger employees from the millennial generation, to the suppliers, the customers, and the people that produce the raw materials that go into every product we consume, people are asking the question, what is the purpose of business? And does it need to change? We think that it does. So we've been learning along the way, working with companies, with folks like Business Fights Poverty, trying to figure out what our role is. And I had a sort of epiphany when a few years ago I was approached by a number of large chocolate companies. I don't usually get approached by companies. I usually chase them around. And suddenly people were knocking on our door and saying, we think that maybe Acumen has something to bring to the conversation about cocoa sustainability. We think that maybe within your networks of entrepreneurs or your experiences investing in these businesses, that you have something to add. At the time, we didn't have a huge portfolio of chocolate companies. In fact, today we have 2 chocolate companies in our portfolio, both of whom are represented here. We have a relatively nascent portfolio in West Africa, but we were seeing those companies impacting local communities. And basically, we decided to begin, even if we weren't fully ready, to begin to answer that question. And the result of that inquiry is Cocoa Interrupted. So I want to share the report, because I have it here. It's been a bit of a labor of love, but this report is coming out today for the first time, so if you pick up a copy, you'll be one of the first hands to hold it. And really what it reflects is this exploration of what role social enterprise could play in the cocoa supply chain. We felt that this was the right time to do it, not because we have all the answers or that there's a million pieces of evidence supporting this, but rather because of the urgency of the need. The challenges that cocoa farmers face today. Within West Africa, in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire alone, 70% of the cocoa that goes into chocolate products that we consume comes from these 2 countries. And because of the complexities of their regulatory environment, the role of government in managing the cocoa supply chain, these farmers are especially vulnerable. Chocolate and cocoa have been commodified to a degree that the farmers who produce it, even though it's a very valued product, receive very little of the revenue from those products. And so we wanted to dive in and learn what we could, and this report reflects what we've learned. We've got case studies and examples of social enterprises that are working within the supply chain and working with cocoa growing communities, many of whom are already partnering with corporations. So we wanted to fan the flames of that work, and today our piece of this event is to share what we learned. It's a little bit unusual for us to kind of go that deep, but it felt like the right moment to really address the industry. So the sessions that we've curated today, starting with our opening plenary, We'll look at some of the specific issues that we identified, including innovations in education, for-profit companies that are working to bring access to education to cocoa communities. We'll look at some of the business models that are helping to support farmers directly, giving them access to technology, to finance. We'll look at measuring impact. As so many companies look at these issues facing the communities, how can they determine whether or not the investments they're making matter, and what does it really mean for farmers? So we'll talk about that. And I think overall across the day, I mean, obviously there's 8 workshops going on, and so you'll have to figure out where you want to be. But we hope that what you'll see is both broad views on what collaboration means, but also some very specific and concrete opportunities to get involved and to help advance this movement. I really want to thank the Hershey Company, Trek, the Jacobs Foundation, for supporting this effort, for taking their own huge leap of faith in helping us just begin the journey. And what I really want to close on is just this, again, sense of excitement and nervousness I feel about what might happen as a result of today. All the pieces are here. All the players. We talk about cross-sector collaboration, and we've not left anyone out. We have entrepreneurs, corporations, NGOs, governments, and lots of intermediaries who are here to help connect the dots. So there's nothing holding us back from saying, we are going to take this on. The reality is that we are part of the systems that we think are broken, and as a result, it means that we are the ones who can help to change them. So I encourage you to take on that responsibility, but also to recognize that there's a vulnerability in that we don't have the answers yet. We've all made mistakes along the way. And I think sharing that vulnerability, sharing where you need a partner, or where you've learned that you don't have all the capabilities that you need yet, will open the door to that kind of collaboration. If we hold on to what we're great at, all of our strengths, what we're proudest of, in some ways we stay closed. And so I want to encourage you to feel that this is a safe space, and a place that you can talk about the things that you're struggling with, because again, I think that's how we start to reach across the boundaries to create the change that's needed. My hope is that this conversation leads to real changes in how we manage global supply chains, in how we partner, and that we can make all of these business models that we're looking at truly a force for good in the world. So I want to thank you again for being here, for opening yourselves up to the conversation.